Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. They have had great feedback. I've had great feedback from people using them, and I thank them for being out there and offering therapy in this time. Thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay. All right. So today, current events. The U.S. government has murdered a second citizen. They murdered 3 so far. Alex Preddy was filming. He was filming. And he did have a concealed carried weapon on his hip, but he didn't brandish the gun. He did nothing to warrant 7 Border Patrol surrounding him, throwing him to the ground, spraying him with pepper spray, punching him in the face, and then shooting him about 9 or 10 times. That is not okay. And the government immediately came out and said, oh, he's a terrorist. Oh, well, but he had a gun. Okay, all my Second Amendment people, where are you? Where are you? Because now they're trying to take our guns away from us. Because now they're trying to say, oh, well, he had a gun. Kyle Rittenhouse, anybody? Interesting. Yeah. So it's okay to carry a gun if you're, in a cult, apparently, but it's not okay to carry a gun if you're not in a cult. Our Second Amendment gives us the right to carry guns. It does. Our First Amendment gives us the right to peacefully assemble, which we did. And do you want to know who started this BS? The Border Patrol. They pushed him, and then they pepper sprayed him, and then they effing executed him. This is happening, guys. This is happening in our government. Now, here's the deal. Here's what you need to catch. This is to distract from the Epstein files, and Pam Bondi sent an extortion note to Tim Walz and said, oh, well, if you just give us all your voter registration information, we'll take ICE out of there. Now, a few weeks ago, Trump said, oh, maybe we should just cancel the elections. Just kidding. Guys, have you been paying attention? A malignant narcissist will tell you exactly what they want to do and then say the words, and I quote, just kidding. They do. They tell us exactly what they're going to do or what they want to do. And unfortunately, people are so, what is the word I'm looking for? Brainwashed? Unwilling to look at the uncomfortable truth that they do that. Because they're like, oh no, he was just kidding. Oh, well, that's just him talking. No, it's not, guys. You listen. Jesus Christ. I have been doing this since 2006. 20 years, people. I have come across thousands of narcissists. I have done research that would curl your hair if you had straight hair and straighten it if you had curly hair. I have done so much research on this. I have had so much personal experience with this. This is what they do. Wake the fuck up. And they want us to be violent. Let me be very clear on that. They want us to be violent because they want to be able to declare martial law. Oh, by the way, we're going to get a whole bunch of trolls today because I posted on my LPC page, they're taking our First Amendment rights. They're taking our Second Amendment rights. So don't respond to them. Just ignore them. Let John deal with them. So anyway, they want violence. They want violence. They want us to respond violently. Do not do it because they want an excuse to declare martial law. They want an excuse to declare the Insurrection Act so that they can cancel the elections. Steve Bannon said it himself. If the Democrats come back into power, all of us are going to jail. Yeah. So there that is. So here's the deal. So what can you do? If a lot of people are feeling helpless, a lot of people are feeling sad, a lot of people are feeling all sorts of stuff. Know your rights. Know your rights. Now is the time to contact every single senator, Republican, Democrat, Independent, doesn't matter. The representatives. Oh, by the way, Andy Biggs has made it so that nobody can get a hold of him. What a surprise. Oh, what a surprise. So you want to contact everybody you can, and you've got to impress upon them. Now we are at an absolute tipping point here. It only takes, I think Heather Cox Richardson said it would only take 16 Republicans to get an impeachment going. Kristi Noem must be impeached. She has blood on her hands. Trump has blood on his hands. All of those people in the Department of Homeland Security have blood on their hands. They are shooting American citizens unjustifiably. Listen, guys, I know lots of police officers, and none of them are okay with how this went down. All of them are saying it was murder. All of my military people are saying that person, those people would be in jail. They would be jailed. They would be tried for murder. So this isn't a left-wing, right-wing partisan. No, you've got to understand the people who are doing this kind of violence are psychopaths. I keep saying this. I hope somebody's listening. They are dark triads. They are narcissistic. They think they're right. They think everything they do is right. They are psychopaths. They do not have normal emotions at all. Period. They do not. They do not. You cannot reason with them. They are like a shark, and that is an insult to sharks. I actually have a lot of respect for sharks, mainly because I surf. But they're like sharks. They're like a predator. All they see is who can they hurt? Who can they harm? Because they get off on it. One of the shooters was jumping up and down with joy and clapping his hands like it was some sort of goddamn video game. That tells me everything I need to know. And right after the shooting, they scattered like cockroaches because they're cowards. They're absolute cowards. And now Bovino is coming out and saying, oh, well, but he had a gun that was holstered, that was deholstered by a Border Patrol agent. He was absolutely unarmed when they shot him. Listen, where are my Second Amendment people? You guys should be freaking livid over this. They're coming for your guns, you dumbasses. They're coming for your guns. They're marching over all of our Bill of Rights. Last year, I did a whole series on the Bill of Rights. If you'll recall, I did a Bill of Rights on everything, the 1st through the 10th. They are marching over all of them. Now is the time to call every single representative and congressperson, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, whether they're Republican or Democrat or independent. We need to get this regime out of here, and we need to do it peacefully. They want violence. And if you'll notice, the only ones who are doing the killing is the government. I swear to God, if the founding fathers were here, they would be tearing their hair out. They'd be so angry. And if you'd ever read any of their autobiographies or their biographies, you'd know that. So anyone who is okay with an American citizen being murdered is either a Russian agent or they are a narcissist themselves thinking, oh, goody, goody, now I can go do my wildest desire. And if you'll notice, we haven't heard a peep out of Nazis. There's been no Nazi marches since Trump came into office. There's been no KKK marches since Trump came into office. Where are the J6ers? Where are all of the Oath Keepers? They're in ICE and they're in the Border Patrol. So this is a huge cover-up for the Epstein files. This is a huge cover-up for the extortion attempt that Pam Bondi did to Tim Walz saying, give us your voter rolls, because they're trying to rig the elections. Now, here's the deal. I get people who are obviously in the cult, saying all sorts of nasty things to me. And, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 blah. Yes, I do know what I'm talking about because I actually studied history. I've read the books, seen the movies, not just even the movies that are, dramatized. I've watched the newsreels from those time periods. This is how authoritarians act. This is what they do. Now, the thing that Heather Cox Richardson said that I do need to prepare you for is that it is going to get a little worse before it gets better. So as authoritarians realize that, oh, gee, this isn't working, they're going to try something else stupider. Not even a word, but there we go. So my recommendation is if you know you cannot remain peaceful, do not go to the protests because that's what they want. If you need to feel like you are doing something, volunteer to help those they are targeting. Donate to food banks, donate to clothing banks, donate to people in Minnesota. They need the help. Okay. That's who they're targeting right now. Now, here's the thing, they have said they are going to come into Arizona next because we're a purple state. And because Chris Mays, who's our attorney general, and brain governor Katie Hobbs, hello, are basically warning people and saying, hey, we're stand your ground state. You know, they burst into your house. You have a right to defend yourself. And here's how stupid everyone is. Arizona, everybody owns a gun. Like literally everybody, Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. We all own guns because it's Arizona. Hello, Tombstone. You guys not heard of Tombstone? Anyway, the point being is they're coming for our rights. They've been coming for our rights. And a hearty hi-ho, fuck you to every asshole who got after me and said, stay in your lane. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, congratulations. They're coming for your guns. They're coming for your First Amendment rights. I was right. And I am going to keep talking. I will not shut up. The people who need to sit down and shut the fuck up are the cult members, are the ones who are okay with murdering U.S. Americans in cold blood. That tells me you're a psychopath. That tells me that you are interested in harm and hurt. And that tells me you're evil. So you have no moral high ground. And I don't have to shut up. And I'm not going to. So suck it. Whew. God damn. And I'll tell you something else. Do you want to know who else originally told me to shut up? My abusive father. That's what abusers do. Now, let's take a look at this from a abuse spectrum. Okay. Abusers poke and 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 poke until we, the victims, explode. That's what they're looking for, guys. That's what they're looking for. That's why I'm saying if you are triggered in any way, shape, or form, do not go to protests. Do not. You will be triggered to defend yourself. That's what they're looking for. They want violence so that they can erase the elections because they know they're going to jail if they don't win. And they are going to try to cheat. And they've been demanding the voter rolls from our AG, Fuentes, who's our Secretary of State. And he said, no, we're not going to give them to you, which is why they're going to send ICE and Border Patrol to Phoenix next. They're already here, but they're going to do a surge here like they've done in Minnesota. That's their plan. So they're so predictable. Oh my God. And that's the other thing. I've had people going, but how did you know? How did you know? I look at patterns, guys. That's my job. I look for patterns and I watch behaviors and I listen to the language used. That's all it takes. Reading up on the subject and understanding who and what you are dealing with. You are dealing with psychopaths that have no emotion. You cannot logic to them. You cannot emotion to them. Once they have decided to kill, they are going to kill because they are predators. So you need to be careful. You need to be safe. Now, here's the other thing. They want us scared. Fuck them. I'm not going to be scared. I'm not scared. I'm fucking pissed is what I am. So what you're going to do is you're going to get with like-minded people. You're going to get with people that think the same way you do. You're going to figure out ways to help. Look for the helpers to help those in Minnesota. You're going to look for ways to help those that they are targeting. You're going to do that. I've been donating to our local food bank every month. I give about $300 or $400 worth of food every month. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to do what you can. And it is enough because not all of us are going to be able to go out and peacefully protest, but they are looking for violence. Don't give it to them. Don't give it to them. Do not give it to them. So here endeth the lesson. All right. Call all of your congressmen, your representatives. Doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat, Independent. Only need 16 Republicans to get this done. And the Republicans could end this today if they wanted to. They don't want to. How many of them are Russian assets? How many of them are on the Epstein list? That's the only question you need to start asking. All right. Take a deep breath, everybody. It is going to get worse before it gets better, but we have each other and we have like-minded people, and there's more of us than there are of them. So there that is. Okay. Let's talk today about the rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So there's so much about this. So there's two aspects of it. So rejection sensitivity dysphoria, what is it? Well, it's when a person who gets rejected or perceives a rejection just feels it to the core of their being. It hurts so bad. And we start ruminating on it. So there's two ways that this can come about. One is through ADHD. So ADHD, unfortunately, one of the features of ADHD is rumination, right? So we ruminate a lot on stuff. So rumination, what is rumination? Rumination is chewing the cud. Okay, you guys weren't raised on a farm. Hold on, back up. So rumination is grabbing something and just chewing it and chewing it and chewing in your mind, chewing it and chewing it and chewing it and chewing it until it's just a mess. That's rumination. So we latch on to a topic and we just run it over in our head over and 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 over until we really harm ourselves. So it is a part of ADHD. So that is partly where it comes from. But the other thing is that those of us who have been abused by narcissists, by psychopaths, by, malignant borderlines, etc., we are hypersensitive to any sort of rejection, any sort of criticism. And it's because, how do I explain this? When we have been so judged, and this goes for ADHD too, when we have been so judged, because think about it, people with ADHD, people with autism, people with neurodivergence get judged unfairly all the damn time. So when we're judged harshly and unfairly all the time, every rejection, every criticism feels just like somebody taking sandpaper and rubbing our skin raw. That's what it feels like. It's awful. So I wanted to read a couple of articles that I was able to pull up on this. So rejection sensitivity. Okay, rejection sensitive dysphoria is an intense, overwhelming emotional or physical pain. We can feel physical pain to this. It does. How do I explain this? So when a narcissist does the cold shoulder, right? When they do the stonewalling and they shun us, it literally lights up the pain centers in our brain. It is physically painful. So sensitivity, rejection sensitivity lights up all of the pain centers in our brain. And it is physically painful. So you can be emotionally in pain and you can be physically in pain because of the emotions. Oh man, we are complicated little creatures, let me tell you. It is caused by the perception or the reality of being rejected, criticized, or failing to meet high standards. Closely linked to ADHD, it causes extreme, sudden emotional shifts, profound shame, and avoidance of social situations to prevent pain. That's a lot of where the social anxiety comes in from. So abusers, honest to God, if I had my way, I would rewrite the DSM-5 so that it included narcissistic abuse syndrome or abuse syndrome, period. Doesn't need to be from narcissists, needs to be from anybody. So, dogs hear a delivery man. So when we are abused, our abusers take absolute delight in rubbing our nose in anything we do wrong. My dad did that. He loved to, like if my sisters or I did it, or my brother especially, oh God, that poor guy. If they did anything wrong, he would punish them physically and then he would emotionally rub their nose in it. Great guy. And when I say great guy, I mean not a great guy. So it is a reaction to abuse. We become hypersensitive to it, almost like allergic, if you will. So here's a great example. I used to live in Northern California. That's where I was born and raised. We had olive orchards everywhere. I love olives. I can't handle the pollen. Oh my God, because there was so much of it. I now have an allergy to it. So it's kind of the same thing. When you're punished and your nose is rubbed in something and it's every day or it's almost every day, you get so sensitive to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, here's the thing, guys. When we've been abused, or if we are neurodivergent and we have ADHD or autism, it's it's a normal reaction to feel hurt to it. It's just that with the rejection sensitivity, it's like an extreme, it's like breaking out in hives emotionally. That's a good way to put it. It's like breaking out in hives, but emotionally. So, it is also a function, or it can be a function of borderline personality disorder, which is born of trauma, usually, unless you're down at the other end of the spectrum where there's no empathy, no compassion, no nothing. In that case, it's a nature issue. But the ones that are born of trauma also have the rejection sensitivity dysphoria because it's born of trauma, because we've been traumatized. Okay, so hold on. Let me back up. I want to just go over this. Intense emotional pain. Reactions are often described as unbearable or devastating, like enough to fall to the ground, not get out of bed, not eat, not take care of yourself, that kind of thing. Perception of rejection, reacting strongly to real or imagined slights, criticism, or disapproval. Why? Because we are constantly on the lookout for abuse. We are. So our little amygdala, little up periscope, is in overdrive, and it's trying to look for danger, look for danger, look for danger, look for danger. And sometimes the danger isn't really there. So the amygdala will start going, oh, but that person made a face at me. And then your brain will latch onto that, trying to stay safe, because it's all about safety. It really is all about safety. And it'll go, "Oh my god, they made a face at me. They must hate me. Oh, they must da, 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 da," and then you go down that rabbit hole and you start circling the drain, because now you've come up with all of this stuff and none of it's true. Or it could be, but again, what other people think of us is not really our problem. So it's a behavior that has come about from either neurodivergence, ADHD, autism, or abuse, or both, really. So, okay, so let me continue with this. And I'm really glad whoever suggested I do this topic, thank you. This was a great deep dive into this. I was really interested to read all this stuff. Rapid mood shifts. So sudden drops into anxiety, usually depression, usually rage, occasionally. That's usually if there's borderline on board as well. Avoidance and people pleasing. All of us have got that. Going to extreme lengths to avoid situations where failure is a possibility, or overcompensating to stay in others' good graces. That's why you see almost all of us who have been abused have got codependency issues, because our survival depended on making our abuser happy, and pleasing them and saying the right things and getting out of the way and, all of that stuff. It does not serve us well when we go into the real world. It does not. So, really important. So, how to start working on all of this? Whew, we're going to get to that. But since I'm talking about codependency, Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, or Facing Codependency by Pia Melody. Both really good books. You do not need to people please. You do not. In fact, it's really important that you don't. Okay, so let's continue, and then I'm going to offer more books as we go along. Physical sensations, feeling heavy, chest heavy, racing heart, knot in the stomach. It does manifest physically. And I will say again, Bessel van der Kolk, the body keeps score. It does. I had a client the other day who witnessed a life-threatening event. Somebody died in front of them. Not because of the protests. It was something completely different. And the person went to a massage therapist because they were like, God, I need relief. I need a massage. Found themselves sobbing because her body had been hanging on to this stuff for so long. So the body does remember. The body keeps score. So Bessel van der Kolk, the body keeps score. It is kind of thick. It's a lot of technical language, but it's really good. So if you're a clinician out there, read it. If you're not a clinician out there and you can handle all the technical gibberish, read it. So it's a good book because it kind of validates. It's like, oh, I'm having these physical sensations because my body remembers. My body has stored all of this trauma and now it's getting released through whatever. And boy, it's happening. So there that is. Okay. ADHD connection. While not an official diagnosis, it is highly common in individuals with ADHD. Neurological differences. Past experiences of rejection or high unreachable self-expectations or other expectations can fuel the conditions. Now let's talk about perfect thing. Narcissists are perfectionists, which is so funny because they're the least perfect people walking the face of the planet, but they demand that everybody around them be perfect. Be perfect. They have to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, oh boy, do they punish. Because if you're not perfect, oh, well, that means I'm not perfect. How dare you? That's what they do. It's all about them. It literally is all about them. I had a classmate when I was going through my master's program who walked into the room and said quite loudly, "It's all about me." And I went, "Oh, Jesus Christ, keep me away from that person." Because I knew this, and they weren't kidding. And of course, right after they said that, "Oh, I'm just kidding." No, they weren't. Do you see where I'm going with that, people? So when we are in an abusive relationship, we are expected to be perfect, whether that is a familial relationship or whether that is a romantic relationship or we have a boss that's a narcissist. They expect us to be perfect all the time. Like we can't make a mistake. Like we can't be human. That's not allowed because in their mind, everybody around them has to be perfect because it shows how perfect they are. They are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So there is that. So perfectionism, rubbing our nose when we're not perfect. We then get the message, oh my God, I have to be perfect. If I'm not perfect, people won't love me. No. The narcissist may not love you, but they don't love anybody. They pretend to, but they don't. They don't love. They don't love. They do not love. Do not. So we get this, I need to be perfect, which is an unnatural expectation to have on yourself or anybody else. Nobody is perfect. Last perfect person got nailed to a tree 2,000 years ago. Ain't nobody walking on ice unless it's frozen. So, it's really important to remember you're human. You're gonna make mistakes. That's how we learn. How do babies learn? By making mistakes. How do babies learn to walk? They fall a lot. Hopefully on their butts, sometimes on their heads. Ugh. Anyway, the point being is that's how they learn balance. That's how we learn is by making a mistake and going, that didn't work. Well, let me try something else. That's the normal human condition. But narcissists don't like that. They want their children to start walking right out of the gate. They don't want them to crawl. They don't want them to toddle around and figure out balance. They want them to start walking right out of the gate. And they will damn them for not doing what they want. That's what they do. And this is a metaphor. This is for anything, that humans learn as we learn through trial and error, basically. So, okay. Trauma, perfectionism. Yes. Medication. Okay. There are certain meds that are used for ADHD, such as alpha-2 agonists, guanfacine, clonidine may help manage those symptoms. This is one of those go talk to your psychiatrist because I do not know. Cognitive behavioral therapy can help manage the negative thought patterns and the emotional regulation, reminding the person, you're not the problem. You're not the problem. Let me just say that again. You are not the problem. You're not the problem. You're not. And what other people think of us is really none of our business. If they want to judge you, people who are willing to think the worst of you do not deserve the best of you. If they're willing to judge us, that's their problem. You don't have to be around them. You don't. So it's not you. You're not the problem. You have emotions. You have feelings. Those are normal. But boy, howdy, abusers love to tell us that emotions are not normal, that we're oversensitive or that we're overreacting or that we're, inappropriate somehow when they, with the only emotion they know how to do, which is anger, fly off the handle and start beating people. I'm sorry, who's inappropriate? The abuser. So emotions are good. Being sensitive is good. But being oversensitive to the point where you're hurting because of that, that's what we need to work on. You can have the emotion, you can be sensitive, but I don't want you to be raw. Does that make sense? So that's what needs to be worked on. Hold on just a second. Let me finish this. Lifestyle adjustments, building self-awareness of triggers. What triggers you? That's really important to know. Sometimes it's a look. Sometimes it's something somebody said. What did they say? Why did that affect you that way? What does that remind you of? Who does that remind you of? That's what's really important. Practicing self-compassion. This is where mirror work comes in. Hi, Good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? Yeah, you're really sensitive. And you know what? It's okay to be sensitive, but you don't need to take everything personally. You really don't, because it's not you. You're not the problem, especially if you've had abuse in your past. Holy crap. It's just, oh, God, don't get me started. All right. Lifestyle adjustments, practicing compassion, and developing strong support systems. This is where calling, phone a friend is really a good idea. Hey, this happened today and I am really feeling it. What's your take on it? And sometimes it's good to get an outside opinion going. Hun, that person, they may have had something going on with them. We don't know. So don't take it personally. It's good to hear that reinforcement of you're not the problem. Do you see where I'm going with that? Because we take that on as abuse survivors. And especially if abuse survivors also have ADHD or autism, we take that on as everything is our fault because they tell us everything is our fault. I cannot tell you the number of times my father would tell all of us that he couldn't retire because of us. I'm sorry, we were all adults and living on our own at the time, but okay. Do you see where I'm going with that? They will come up with they will make connections that do not exist. So, it's really important to phone a friend. It's really important to get that outside perspective and remember, it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to be sensitive. It's okay to have hurt feelings. It is. But you've also got to be like, wait a minute, is this in proportion to what happened? That's where the emotional regulation comes in. And that takes practice, guys. That's not going to happen overnight, especially if you've had years being dysregulated. It takes practice. Don't make yourself wrong. You're not always going to be able to master it quickly, but you will master it. So it just takes practice. So be gentle with you, gentle with you. Like, seriously, like when you speak to yourself, I want you to speak to yourself the way I speak to you guys. I want you to speak to yourself with love and respect and patience and kindness and gentleness and encouragement. Really, honestly, be your own best parent. Be the parent maybe you didn't have. Be that person. Mimic that for yourself because you deserve to be treated with respect and love and kindness. Every human being does. So do that for you. So, okay, let's get back to this. All right. Now, this is from adda.com.org. Sorry, .org, add.org. Okay, so rejection sensitivity, managing feelings of overwhelm. So that's the other aspect of it. People with rejection sensitivity often feel overwhelmed. I mean, like, cannot cope, cannot deal with more than one topic at a time. That is a function of the rumination and of the ADHD. So it's really important if you have ADHD, get with a good therapist that really understands ADHD and that maybe a good psychiatrist that can prescribe the right kind of meds to help you focus. Because a lot of times executive dysfunction is a function of ADHD, to focus and be able to handle more than one topic at a time. So it is, if you haven't seen ADHD and the overwhelm, you won't understand it. But you've got to understand, this is not the person being intentionally obtuse. It is the person not being able to cope. So the overwhelmed is when the brain just starts going. Rumination, the whole thing. Overwhelmed can only deal with one topic at a time. And especially if there is an emotional aspect to that, there's going to be that emotional dysregulation. So get with a good support group. Get with a good ADHD support group. That's hugely important. Like-minded people that you can talk these things through. So this is just a function of ADHD. The overwhelmed is overwhelming. It is. And people don't understand it. And it's hard to understand unless you have a loved one that has ADHD and gets overwhelmed like that. Or if you're a professional, because, you need to know these things. So, okay, back to the overwhelmed. Key facts about RSD with ADHD. It's common in adults with ADHD. It refers to extreme emotional pain triggered by the perceived rejection or the actual rejection or criticism. Even small social cues, such as a delayed text, can be painful. So, learning that, listen, life happens and sometimes people don't respond immediately. Like yesterday when the shooting happened in Minneapolis, I completely forgot I had lunch with a friend yesterday. I was so busy dealing with clients, with myself, with my family, etc. It just slipped off my mind. And I explained and I apologized. And, you just got to understand things happen and not everybody's going to be on their phones or on social media 24/7. And interesting though, but when you do start taking it personally, you got to stop and kind of be like, wait a minute, they may not be near their phone. They may be busy with something else that's going on. They may be out walking their dog. They may be, don't immediately personalize it. It is not personal. So do remember that. It is not personal. You are not the problem. Okay. Okay. It often involves managing RSD involves therapy and healthy coping strategies. So what's a healthy coping strategy? I think a healthy coping strategy would also be working on your self-esteem because that helps you recognize it's not you. That helps you recognize here's where I begin and end, here's where the boundaries are, and here's where you begin and end. And I need to work on my self-esteem. How I feel about me is not predicated on other people. It's not codependency. So codependency looks like this. We're leaning on this person to make us feel good. And if they don't respond to a text or, frown or have a bad day or whatever, we immediately go, boom. You can't do that. You need to stand on your own self-esteem. You know who you are. You do. If I didn't know who I was, all of the trolls would get to me. I know who I am. It doesn't get to me. So that's the difference. So it's knowing who you are, understanding your value, your worth. You have value and worth, and it is separate from every single person on the face of the planet. You alone have your own value and worth, and you don't need outside validation. Outside validation is the icing on a beautiful cupcake, but that is not the foundation. The foundation is self-esteem. So work on your self-esteem with the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. Start at the beginning, go all the way through. When you're done, go back, start at the beginning, go all the way through. Set it aside for a few months, do it again. You're going to find the answers are going to change. So that's one way to start working with the rejection sensitivity dysphoria is understanding you have worth, you have value, no matter what you're doing. No matter what you're doing, you have worth and value, and it does not depend on somebody else's approval. It depends on your own approval. So really start working on that. The other thing to do to start working on the rejection sensitivity is make connections. Why am I being triggered by this? What does this remind me of? Who does this remind me of? Oh, in my childhood, I had a caregiver that rubbed my nose and everything. Ooh, self-esteem and inner child. Make those connections. Who did the original damage? Who did that? Why is this triggering you so badly? Who did that? Then start working on the inner child. Start comforting and healing and reparenting the inner child. So Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. That is my favorite one just because I'm a drama kid and I like, it's where I got my BA was in theater arts. I like that you do experiential. You rock yourself as a baby and you write down what comes up for you. Or you spread out a blanket and you grab some applesauce and you put applesauce in your hair, which I thought was a lot of fun actually, and see what comes up for you. My abuse didn't really start in earnest until my sister left home when I was 7. When my grandmother died and my sister left home, that's when my dad went absolutely off the deep end, around the bend, toys in the attic, holy crap. So that is the point where my abuse started. That is the point where my inner child needed to be reparented. So that's what you figure out. Some people have great little baby hoods and toddler hoods. And then when they get into the middle part, that's when the abuse started. That's what they need to work on. Other people, it's back when it happened. Some people, it's young adult. So you work through the inner child workbook to try to figure out, where did this all start? Who was the original abuser? Where were the mistaken thoughts? Where were the mistaken beliefs? How can you heal and love that little inner child into health and security and knowing who they are, independent of outside opinion? That's what you want. That makes you powerful. That makes you really, truly powerful. When you know who you are, that scares the living crap out of people who don't. So there you go. And when I say that, I'm talking like, villains. So I'm not talking us who don't know who we are. I'm talking about abusers. Abusers do not know who they are. And they try to prove who they are through violence. Never works. Never works. Might work in the short term, doesn't work in the long term. It's unsustainable because we eventually leave or we do what we need to do to stay safe. So that's the big mistake that most abusers make, is they think that they can just beat people until morale approves, and that doesn't work. Okay. Often worrying. So there's a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety, interpreting clues incorrectly, lots of anxiousness, lots of social anxiety, fear of being judged. That's all common with having been abused or ADHD or neurodivergent. Having a very strong emotional response. This is not in the DSM-5 or the DSM yet. I suspect it will be at some point because it is very common amongst adults that have ADHD. So yeah, it's just ugh. Okay, hold on. There was another one I wanted to. Okay, there's emotional dysregulation. Okay, symptoms and causes. I think we've gone over that. There's a lot of shame, which is why working on self-esteem really helps, because you learn you've got nothing to be ashamed of. You have emotions. You're human. Your feelings were hurt. That's human. It's what you do with it that makes it helpful or hurtful. Okay, so we've already made the connection to ADHD, Newport Institute. Let's see. Links between ADHD, difference between, okay. Oh, okay. Signs of, we've already gone over that. Again, a lot of the treatment is treating the ADHD, anxiety, and then again, talk therapy. So talk therapy is really helpful with this because you can get a better idea of what is appropriate response, and what really is your problem, what really isn't your problem. I think that's the really, relieving the clientele that I have of these mistaken thoughts and these mistaken beliefs, and getting them to see that, hey, you're not the problem. Huge difference in their life. So that's what you want to do. You want to get with a good therapist that understands this stuff, that understands trauma inside and out. Boy, howdy, I cannot therapists that sit there and go, I'm trauma informed, and they're not. You better know this stuff inside and out, because there's all of these intricacies that I don't think they teach. I don't. I mean, everything I've had to learn, I've had to do on my own. And I'm happy to do it because I'm one of those weirdos that reads journals for fun. So I know. Um, so there that is. Okay, let's dive into the questions. I hope that answered your questions. Listen, guys, if you have questions or topics on abuse or healing from abuse, or basically any mental health questions, put them in the comments, or send them to me DM, and I will do a show on it. So I'm happy to answer those questions. Some of them I may not do, simply because I've recently done them. So please check through my previous videos to see what I've recently done and see if that answers your question. If it doesn't, shoot me a question, I'm happy to answer it when I have time. So please don't put urgent, please don't put priority, please don't, whatever. It's like, I work, guys. I have a full load. I see clients, so I'll get to your DMs and stuff when I have time. Okay. But right now, let's go to the questions. And that's pretty much it for RS, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. It is a function of ADHD. It is also a function of having been abused. We are sensitive to it. You're not the problem. Your emotions are valid. Stop taking things personally. It's not you. You're not the problem. So, all right, there that is. Let's look at questions. Hi, Chris. I'm interested in your life coaching. Please, can you talk more about your life coaching based in the UK? Oh, okay. Well, just shoot me a an email. I can be reached at what is my email? chrisgodinas.com. There is a form on there that you can fill out, and I will get to you. And I will, we can get together and talk through email on that. I am only life coaching for people outside of the United States, because in the United States, we've got compacts going on, and there's a lot of bureaucratic BS. So I am life coaching outside the United States. I do every single country: Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc., UK. So go on to Chris Godinas. And Johnny, could you put that? Oh, you did. Thank you. chrisgodinas.com. There's a form to fill out. Fill that out. I'll get it. And then I can email you details and all that sort of fun stuff. I do a sliding scale. I'm not unreasonable. So there that is. Okay. Thank you for asking that. Okay. Okay. Did you know I so look forward to your material, your experience and wisdom and truth have a calming and healing effect on me. Your content also brings thought-provoking tools to look at. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you. Thank you. I'm glad I can help. I mean, this is the thing. When I survived my family, and it was surviving, when I survived my family and I got out, I wanted to originally make people laugh. I wanted to do theater. I wanted to do, things like that. My father, while I was in school getting my BA in theater arts, demanded that I give up school and go to beautician school, cosmetology. If you read my book, I don't even know where my book is. My cats have taken over my office. If I showed you a picture of my office, it looks like the Sahara Desert because there's cat litter everywhere. Oh my God. Anyway, and toys and yeah. Anyway, I don't know where my book is. So my book is called What's Wrong with Your Dad. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Audible. When I was in college, he insisted I go to cosmetology school, and he wanted to subvert me from getting my degree. And he was like, "You'll never make it as an actress. You'll never make it as this. You'll never make it as that." He was just a horrible human being. And he wanted me to give up college. So what I did is I did an end run around him. I applied for a leave of absence in order to finish cosmetology school and make him happy. So I got my cosmetology license. I worked as a cosmetologist in LA. I was more of a psychiatrist than I was anything else, working as a cosmetologist. So, and I worked with minor Hollywood stars, and I would listen all day long to what was going on. I would give them suggestions, I would give them hints, and I finally went, you know what? I'm in the wrong business. And of course, my experience in that industry just cemented that, oh my God, this is dysfunctional, capital D, don't want anything to do with it. And the reason quickly is I went to an audition. I weighed 120 pounds. I'm 5'7". I weighed 120 pounds. They said, "Oh, we want you for the part, but you need to get down to 100 pounds." I was starving myself at that point. And at that point, I walked away. I was like, "Nope, I like lasagna. Thanks." Turned around and walked out. And that was it. And then I started pursuing getting my master's degree in community counseling. So anyway, what was my point to that? Oh, helping people. So I realized that with my experience of everything that I'd been through, I could help people. I could give them hope, and I could give them a better way to live. And I think that is the duty of everyone who is on the healing path, that you turn around and you help the person behind you and you lift them up. That's what it's about. So thank you. I am honored, and I am glad I could help. And that is my mission in life, is to help as many, don't know what that is, help as many people as I possibly can, because the healthier society is, the less narcissists and psychopaths are going to be able to pull bullshit, because people will recognize it. They'll see it. They'll know it. They can see it coming a mile away. So I would encourage you to pull up the Bill of Rights, while we're on that topic and go through them and see how many of our rights have already been trampled. And when you see how many of our rights have been trampled, I encourage you to call. Call. If that's the only thing you can do, call. So let me see. Do we have any other questions? Is that it? Okie dokie, Smokey. All right. Next week, I think we should go through the emotions. And the dogs agree. I don't know who's out there. It's probably somebody walking their dog. So, what? Amazon? Oh, so they hate the Amazon driver. So I want to go through emotions. I want to go through, an appropriate response, an inappropriate response, what the abuser did, what we do, what is considered a healthy, all of the emotions are healthy. Okay. It's what we do with them that make them hurtful or helpful. And it's what we're thinking that makes it hurtful or helpful. So we're going to go through emotions. Can we see your fur babies? Well, they're out in the, I think I can get Gertrude. Hold, please. So Gertrude's the mama. Hold on. Gertrude's the mama kitty. Let's see if I can. Oh my God. There. Oh, that's Gertrude. Say hi, Gertrude. She's like, I will hiss at you. That's Gertrude. She's the mama. And I've got three of her babies. She's the feral kitty that we rescued. And then her babies are also feral. So they put up with me. They don't let me pet them, but they love the treats and they love being inside. So yeah. So that's Gertrude. She's my baby. She hisses at me every time I come in the room, but then she looks at me and then looks at the cat tree. And I know she's like, you going to give me a treat? And so then I'll go give her a treat and she stops hissing. So I'm like, you've got me so well trained. Anyway. All right, guys. So just remember, they want you to be violent. Don't be violent. They want you to live in despair. Don't live in despair. Don't. Live in your joy because your joy lives in here. It's not predicated on what's going on. Now, yesterday, did I have a complete meltdown and cry most of the day? Yeah, I did. I allowed myself that. But the thing of it is, they want us unhappy. They want us violent. They want to end the elections. Trump even said that. Oh, maybe I should get rid of the elections. Oh, just kidding. No, he's not. Call all of your senators, call your representatives, call your congress people. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on, call them. They need to know. We just need 16 Republicans for this to end. And actually, if the Republicans could end this now, and the question to them is, why aren't you ending it? Why are you okay with the government shooting U.S. citizens? Not okay. All right, my loves, you guys, boycott what you can, boycott Target, boycott Amazon, boycott any and all the broligarchs that are supporting this madness. So you guys take good care of yourselves, drink plenty of water, be gentle with yourselves, really, truly, with so much hatred and so much scary stuff going on. It's really important for us to all practice self-care, to do mirror work, to remind ourselves that we are human beings and we have the right to be humans and we have the right to exist and we have the right to have our emotions and that we are loved, even if it's just by ourselves. We are loved and we are respected and we deserve to be treated with love and respect. And you are not the problem. You're not the problem. So don't fall victim to the abuse. Don't respond in kind. Don't engage. These Border Patrol and these ICE agents are predators, and they've already got clearly the orders to harm and to hurt because the government backed them up. The government, without even seeing the tapes, started calling this guy, Alex Preddy, a terrorist. He was not. He was a VA nurse. He was a VA nurse. He was trying to protect a nurse that had been shoved to the ground. She'd had pepper spray sprayed in her face. He then had pepper spray sprayed in her face. They disarmed him. They shot him in cold blood. Anyone who supports that is a traitor to this country, and I thoroughly hope that they face justice. And let me tell you something. I was just following orders, ain't gonna cut it. So there that is. You guys be safe. You guys be careful, and I will talk to you next week about emotions. All right. Be good. Talk to you later. Bye.